I wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name. Check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain. I ingest, I retain, assess and I change. Possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints. Money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on display. This is war with the enemy. Think that it was meant to be. Living in a time where disease is on every screen.
Hello listeners, and welcome to another episode of Tactical Awareness. We are back with our third faction guide. This time it is Aleph, the shackled AI that is sort of tasked with running the human sphere and protecting humanity from all other AIs. We'll be doing a newest to oldest faction guide yet again as we break down first the two sectorials, starting with the Operations Subsection, which is the wet work, sort of behind the scenes spies and secret agents, then the Heroes of Steel Phalanx, and of course finally Vanilla or Aleph Prime. So let's jump in with Owen and Dan, see what's going on, and get on to our third overall faction guide for Infinity N4. Hey, what's up everybody? We are back with a brand new faction. And it is episode 13, season 1 of Tactical Awareness. We're going to talk about some Aleph. And they're just better than you. And I see that their superiority is causing a problem. We're going to go in the same format as last to first. Last in, first out. We're going to go with the Operation Subsection, then Steel Phalanx, and then finally Vanilla Aleph as our last faction coverage. I'm going to lead this one because this is the faction I was doing. But conveniently, Owen won a bunch of Steel Phalanx at Colder Than Carbonite, so he's going to jump in and help me out with that one too. And then we'll wrap it up with Vanilla Aleph.
I also played OSS for like a while.
You did, because we split Cold Front. That's right, we split Cold.
Yeah.
Actually, I think you took all of Cold Front. I think you did the Shazmazdi and the OSS out of that. I was just like, I was working on something else, and you were like, I'll just paint these. Back when that came out. Yeah, I do remember that. Oh no, I was doing the Ariadne, because Cold Front was Ariadne and OSS, wasn't it? It was the subsection in Ariadne. That's why. That's because it was the early Tartary Army Corps. Yeah, and I did Tartary Army Corps.
Which I then also played.
I mean, there's a very short list of factions over that 7-year period that we didn't both play. It was a lot of Infinity. But first let's catch up with Owen and Dan, who is also here to find out how their week went and what's been going on with them. So what have you been up to, Dan? We'll start with you.
After my crazy spurt of painting and everything done, I went on a little bit of a buying spree and bought a bunch more models. And then I just primed them up today, and now I have a lot to paint again.
What'd you get? Did you go finish off your mercenaries? Like, what'd you grab?
Yeah. So I actually picked up a couple of the new War Driver models because I think they look super badass. And
They're really badass.
I'm gonna use them as my Raven Eyes.
Oh, good idea. Just
because they kind of fit that kind of ish profile of just like, a dude.
And then we're not hazmat gear. It looks like they deal in EM grenades. You know what I mean? Like,
right?
They look like they might, and they have that cool visor and stuff too. That cool helmet.
I was like, eventually I'll get a Raven Eye model. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, this is never gonna happen. I'm not getting 2 of them.
And also, I mean, the way Infinity works. Yeah, the way Infinity works too. If you're not getting it in the first 3 months, you might not find it for a while. So you might as well grab them while they're new.
Yeah, and I was thinking of going to Starmada, and every single Starmada list I've been building has two Raven Eye in them. Because why not?
Yeah, as is only
correct. Refer back to Starmada episode.
Yeah, absolutely. When we gushed about Raven Eyes.
But anyways, yeah, no games, but some more assembly and painting. Yeah, a bunch of NA2 stuff. Just like I was like, these will be cool mercenaries to have. Like I got the Tao Wu model from Aristea. I think
I have him too. The white gloves. He's awesome. The one that looks like Trevor Slattery from Marvel.
I don't know Marvel well enough.
Sorry, he looks like the Mandarin from Marvel. He looks like what's his name? The Mandarin, where he's got like the top knot, the bun, the man bun, and the white gloves.
And the jacket that's resting on his shoulders with the sleeves out.
Yeah, he's rolling with the ladies in his silk gear, his all silk outfit.
What I got, like Wild Bill, I got some, and then I put together a bunch of parts for a would-be Bixie. She's a little skinny, but we'll try that as a proxy. And then,
I do hope she comes out soon. I mean, when the season's over, she'll probably get like a general release. But
I'll buy her then.
Yeah, I mean, you could just order a tournament kit.
But that's so much money.
It's not though. It's $50.
No,
it's $50
like
and you
80.
get all the tokens and stuff. No,
It's
you
like
just
50
order
US, isn't it?
No, you just order it right from CB. Just order from their web store. It's like 35 or 30 euros.
But then I'm paying $50 for one miniature because I don't need anything else in the pack.
It's got cool terrain pieces. It's got order tokens. It's got cool silhouettes. Don't just split with Owen.
I have all these things already.
Nah, fair enough. Just go win a tournament, Dan. Like, get good. Go win a tournament.
No, I got to get second place so I get the best prize.
Nah, there you go. That's a good idea. So what about you? What are you working on besides I assume more steel flanks? More, what else you been painting?
I painted all the steel phalanx I have.
I know you
Just in one fell swoop.
Just in one night. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
I haven't worked on anything. Period.
That's fair. Take a break. Rest on your laurels. I mean, tomorrow's Saturday. Tomorrow's game night at
Century.
Century Box. You guys will probably get some
We
games in then.
did play last week. I think we already talked about that. Or did we?
No, we didn't talk. We haven't talked about last week at all. I don't. Oh no, we did because we recorded on Monday. When did we record? We recorded on Monday, and we're gonna do it again on Wednesday because we've been backed up because we did that special colder than carbonite episode, and then I had random kid shenanigans on Wednesday.
I remember is that I beat Dan handily again.
With what?
To be fair, he was playing a nice steel phalanx list, and I was trying to play Druze.
It was a 10 model steel phalanx list, and it turns out linkable
Hippolyta
is
you did talk about this. Yeah, he did talk about this, where she just exploded the whole army and was like not dead at the end of the game. Or no, he just killed her as like his glory kill at the end. Yeah, at the end.
By suiciding.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the same topic, I still haven't gotten in my game with my Agamemnon because we've had such crap weather here that Jordan's had to like duck out on all of our games because we've just had freezing rain and random snow squalls for like the whole week. So every night we try and get a game in. We haven't managed to, so we're gonna try and get one on Monday night. It was supposed to be tonight, and then previously it was supposed to be Tuesday night, and they've all basically just been like snowed or run under with all the insane weather happening here right now.
I did paint up a Knight of Santiago as well. I think it looks super badass.
That model's so cool. Which one did you get the Killer Hacker one? He's my favorite.
No, I think I got the Spitfire one.
The old one where he's running with the Spitfire out and the sword back.
Ooh, I like him too. Yeah, where he's doing like he's doing the Ninja Scroll run where he's like running across the rooftops.
He's just got a wide stance with the Spitfire up, and then the sword is under his cape.
You must be a newer one then.
Different one.
It's probably the newest one.
Sweet. Yeah, because there's also the one that came in the action pack that has the hacking profile and the hacking face, like the hacker helmet or whatever.
There are many, many, many versions of the Knight models.
I'm gonna try to make the duo of a Knight of Santiago and a bronze work. It doesn't seem like it's gonna work, but I think it's gonna make it great.
I think it's gonna be great. I personally think it's gonna be great. My favorite part of this week was when we couldn't figure out who was the mech deploy model we were talking about last episode. And it was Halkas because they didn't exist anymore. They were just a thing that just didn't exist. We thought it was something that lost the profile.
I thought it was Delamis, but it's not. It was Halkas.
It was a unit that's just gone, that just doesn't exist anymore. One of the random cargo pants that got deleted from Hakaslam when it went to N4.
Also, Kaisenbeg didn't make them all regular. He became regular. That was the misremembering there too.
That's right. Yeah, it was him that became regular. And what happened to him was he got murdered by the twins. They took over his biker gang. And went all Sons of Anarchy, Sons of Coon Riders.
I missed the Hellcat.
Look, that's NA3. That's in the past.
That's true. Yep. That's true. Well, but this is why Owen and I don't know what's going on because things have just things that should still be there aren't there anymore, and then random acts of assassination happen we don't know about. I did discover that my I have the core book and the human sphere books for N3, and those background books are thick. I'm gonna read them over the next couple of weeks and actually maybe do some background episodes, do some like fluff episodes instead of just doing all army breakdowns because there's some neat stuff. There's profiles on literally every single miniature, like that was at that time, which is a lot. And yeah, so I haven't done anything either. I've just been painting. I painted up like I said last episode, my post-humans, my Agamemnon. I haven't gotten a chance to put them on the table yet. So I've just been waiting to do that. And then what happens, I play a game and I decide what I want to paint after that. I did assemble my Nomad stuff though. I assembled what's her name, Carlotta Kowalski, and her Zondcat Moriarty, and then the I think it's a doctor or paramedic Tomcat with the Zonbot or the Zoncat, and I have another Tomcat already painted. So I'm gonna try and get them painted to add to my nomads, and I got a few other models to build and paint, but that's probably the next leg, is trying to do like a drop list for my nomads to change it up, try something different. And I also built and primed stuff to play vanilla Aleph, because if we're gonna do these Aleph things, I should probably play a game with them or another game with them. So I built and primed my Nauf, my what's his name, dude with the dude who's structure instead of wounds, the new guy. Oh, you probably just played with him, not Eudoros. Is it Eudoros?
Oh, Eudoros has structure, I believe.
Yeah, it's Eudoros. Yeah. The guy with the shield and the Mark 12. So I built and primed him, the new Spitfire Myrmidon, because I can just use it as any old Myrmidon if I want, from that action pack. And then Nauf, and then Libertos, because I want to use a Libertos in that list because it's nice and cheap and defendy. And I built my Octavia Grimsdottir with a missile launcher to use the Beast Hunter, because I want to have a Beast Hunter because it's available in vanilla as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get those painted for my game after my next game, because I've been sitting on an army list that I want to play with Jordan for like 2 weeks now. All right, well, let's jump forward and actually start talking about an army. So Operations Subsection, who are these guys? I'll be taking the point on this one because this is the army I've been playing for the last little while. Now, these are sort of the long arm of Aleph. Aleph is the human sphere's AI, and this is aspects of it that it breaks off and puts into what's called L hosts, which are bodies designed to contain sort of like a fragment of the AI, a facet of its personality. And they're used to hunt down other AIs, because one of the mandates that Aleph has is that no alien or human should have an AI as powerful as Aleph. It's as part of its like protocol to like protect humanity, because otherwise it's an unshackled AI and it could just decide that it's a threat and take everything over and destroy it. So these are sort of like their secret, not secret police, but like strike teams, covert ops. If the Steel Phalanx are the showy fighting force of Aleph, the Operations Subsection is designed to do the stuff in the dirty work. They're the wet work guys, the spies, the shock troops, and the like assassination run people. So
wait, is Aleph just like a hive mind AI?
Aleph is the humanity's one big AI. They're shackled AI that is basically operating pretty much everything. It's not quite a central government, but it runs most of like the administrative and communication tasks that keep all of humanity running at this point. And it is in constant war with the EI, the Evolved Intelligence, which is the shackled alien intelligence, which runs the Combined Army. That's why the Combined Army is under one rule. It's this evolved intelligence that's trying to figure out the secret to everything, because the aliens made an artificial intelligence and it immediately was like, oh, you guys suck, and left. And so then they made one that didn't have free will, and it took over all the races, subjugated them, and then went to conquest to try and like unite all races in the galaxy to figure out whatever it was that the last one figured out that made it want to leave and disappear. So it's basically at war with our shackled AI, and the two of them are at like a detente right now as the aliens invade the human sphere.
Okay.
So what you're looking at is you're looking at lots of L hosts and post-humans. So either aspects of the EI, which means that they are like a consciousness fragment uploaded into a synthetic body, or they are post-humans, and post-humans are a sleeve for a cube. It's a little more altered carbon, where it's like a worn body that is wet networked into someone's cube. And post-human is like the greatest gift that can be given by Aleph, because it's effectively immortality. And the post-humans are very, very dickish about it, because they feel like they're better than the rest of the humans. They're the humans that have evolved past the need to have physical bodies, and they live forever on the web. And there's always a backup of them somewhere, so they can't really die. So we're going to use the same classification stuff as last time. We're going to go through, starting with light infantry, and go through what is available to all of the OSSS. Now, it is, to give it an overview, it's a fairly shallow list. It does kind of one thing, and it leans into that one thing, which is post-humans, remotes, and a selection of fairly powerful mercenaries to augment them. They do have fire team options, and those fire team options are, again, fairly specific. You have access to like a major core link in the form of the operations fire team. It can have Daikinis and Divas, who count as Daikinis, Danivas, who are hackers, and CSUs. They can be a duo, a core, or Harris, and you can have one of each, a single fire team of core, single Harris, and unlimited duos. You can have a Yadu fire team. It's your other duo, Harris and Core. This is relatively expensive. These are your medium infantry, your shock troops, and they're tough, but they're not super tough. They're not heavy infantry. And there's a special officer, Shakti, who will count as a Yadu who can join them. You have an Asura fire team, and it's duo or Harris. Now, the Asuras are the super ultra heavy infantry. These are the aspects of the EI that are like godlike and do fighting real good. They can be joined by Yadus who count as Asuras, which cheapens the fire team a little bit, and Shakti, the character. And then you can also have a bounty hunter fire team, which includes Sforza, Miranda Ashcroft, the 2 character bounty hunters, the motorized bounty hunter, and the bounty hunter. And they can be up to a Harris. So you could actually have, I think it's 3 regular bounty hunters, or like 2 motorized bounty hunters and Miranda or Sforza as a single one. And the wild cards are Divas, Semek Rebot FTOs, which is the missile launcher, the Rudra, which is their specialized remote with K1 usually. Trisha, who's the new character from the Defiance pack, who used to actually be, I think it's Trigal. It was basically a detective who's been mothballed for 20 years and brought back in a different body so that the Russian mobsters that he helped blow up don't recognize him. And then Parvati, who is the Aristea engineer support superstar who's been drafted into the OSSS. So let's jump in with line infantry, and we'll go lightest to heaviest. Now, a few of these models we've talked about in previous editions, and I'll just quickly shoot past them in the beginning, but we'll go alphabetically, starting with, I believe it is Andromeda. So Andromeda is a specialist aspect of the EI. She is a 55 mil, so size 4 miniature. Move 4/4, and she's kind of a very specifically geared midfielder. CC 21, BS 12, Phys 12, Whip 13, Arm 2, BTS 3, 1 wound, but no wounding cap and shock immune. And then size 4, like I said, because she has guard. She's martial arts level 3, CC attack +1 damage, courage, dodge +2 inches, and mimetism -3 with specialist and stealth. So she's not 2 wounds, but she has no wounding cap. She's pretty hard to take out. And the really big thing is her infiltration +3. So she can infiltrate into the opponent's half of the table on a Phys 12 because the -3 gets offset, or just forward deployment +8. She has 2 sort of like overall gear options, which is an SMG or a boarding shotgun. But the SMGs have the option to be either infiltration with a zapper, which is really cool. It's a small Emerald, a flash pulse and D charges, breaker pistol and DA close combat weapon, or SMG flash pulse, zapper, and D charges. With the forward deployment. And then the boarding shotgun is just a boarding shotgun, flash pulse, D charges, breaker pistol, and DA close combat weapon. So the combination of guard and infiltrating makes for a really interesting hunting piece for camo models. And that's kind of where she shines. I've used her a couple times, and her big thing is that she can use guard to make CC attacks at things in line of sight and zone of control of her, which means that instead of having to take modifiers for camouflage, she'll take modifiers only for things like suppression. So no cover, no camo, just suppression if that model's suppressing, and then she gets to use her CC attack against it because she sends the dog, which actually apparently lives in a suitcase in the background, and she unleashes on people.
But you mean mimetism, right?
I mean mimetism, sorry, that's right, yeah.
No
mimetism. She can just attack those pieces as long as they're in her zone of control. And that's actually really interesting too, because that can be shockingly tall. Right, mimetism, like being inside your zone of control, means no matter how high in the air you are, that kitty runs up the walls and attacks you. So a sniper like way like 4 floors above her, that she can get in zone of control and line of sight of, she can send the cat to go fight it. So imagine, I don't know,
it's
let's
still
say
8 inches up.
Yeah,
it's still 8 inches up. It's not infinite tight on your zone of control. But
it's 8 inches up, right? So like
it's still tall though.
It's still tall. Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not just like a 8-inch in front of her thing.
My understanding with Andromeda was that she was the heavy infantry annihilator because she just walks up and hits you with D charges in close combat.
She can do that too. Away. Yeah, she can do that too from 8 inches away. That's right. But the fact that she can ignore that -9 for like -6 and cover can be a really big deal. She can break through that. A lot of heavy infantry has better martial arts stats than her, right? Because and they're allowed to fight back in melee too. That's the thing, is they don't just get to shoot; they can fight back in melee. So like you don't necessarily want to go fight knights with her.
But here's the thing: is that if you walk around the corner, they have to arrow first. So if they declare a CC, they can declare melee.
They can, yeah.
But then you just shoot them. and then they go and they swipe in the air and nothing happens.
Yep.
Right?
That's true. If you don't trigger guard, yeah.
Because you
Or
just
is that
wouldn't
true?
take the free shot.
Yeah. No. And you also have a template EM weapon, which is zappers, which are great.
I thought zappers were just big flashballs. Or
I'm pretty sure the zappers are small.
Yeah,
small template EM. They're the small EMRATs, right?
Yeah.
They're what a nanopulsar is to a pulsar.
That's what I'm thinking of pulsars.
You're thinking of pulsars, yeah. They're the big template nanopulsars.
Yeah, guard is optional. So
guard
you
is
go around
optional.
And be like,
and bait them and stuff like that. So she's really neat. She's a bit hard to protect because of her really big base, right? Like the fact that she's on a 55 makes her a little bit unmaneuverable. And it's tempting to roll that infiltration +3, but you don't really need to a lot of the time because she does have stealth, which means she can kind of snake her way usually through into where she wants to fight.
Yeah, she is only move 4/4 though, so it's she's a little slow for like running around in melee kind of thing. I mean, she can start halfway off the board, but again, with the big size, I don't know. I think it's too risky to roll the infiltration. I think there's times where you want to take that risk, but I don't know. It's a really bad roll if you fail.
Absolutely, yeah. And she's got a submachine gun on the profile. I usually take the infiltration one, which means she can suppress too. And that means she can suppress with the SMG, with mimetism, maybe in cover. And then if something gets closer to try and like ambush her, she can then use guard. Right. So there's a lot of utility to her. She is relatively spendy though at 32 points. And there's a couple other character models that you might want to lean into that have similar price tags. And let's talk about the next light infantry, which is Aceris. So interestingly enough, this is one of the profiles in Aleph that allows you access to a mercenary unit that most other people have. There's not a lot of availability of this skill yet, and it's a rem driver. So you have two profiles for Aceris. They are CC 15, move 4/4, BS 13, which means they're actually pretty good shots. Fizz 10, whip 14, 1 arm, 3 BTS, 1 wound, 2 size. And you can take up to 2 of them. No skills at all. But there's a boarding shotgun with a hacker killer hacking device, pistol and CC weapon for 19 points, relatively cheap. And the other one's a rem driver, which is CC 15, BS 13, whip 14 with an SMG for 22 points. And that being able to have a rem driver with BS 13, not BS +1, is pretty tasty when you start realizing how remote heavy this army can be. You can give it to the Rudra. You can give it to your HMG if you want for the Dakinis, who are like your main sort of like core fire team, and it ups their game quite a bit for 22 points.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know this guy existed. I was like looking through the profiles, but I totally missed this one.
Yeah, he's an incredibly cheap killer hacker, but the rem driver profile is fantastic for 22 points.
Yeah, I like the rem driver.
Again, to pull off this combo though, you are investing 22 points for +2 BS usually on a remote. And you might not need to. So it's kind of a luxury item. You can decide you want to do it, but then you're kind of leaning into that shtick.
You do have some line infantry linkable remotes in this.
You sure do. And that makes that a interesting option, which means 2 of them technically could be BS 13, but you're looking at a 40-point investment to make them that way with the extra orders. They're relatively cheap though. You can also have an authorized bounty hunter and a motorized bounty hunter, Miranda Ashcroft. We talked about all these before. I do love these models. Dan now swears by the double motorized bounty hunters at 9 points each. And the fact they're still linkable in this faction makes all the things we talked about before with them still relevant.
You can make a Harris with them.
You can,
yes. I don't even know how to. I was trying to get my mind around it, like because it's like usually they're just a suicide kind of go up, but with the Harris you kind of want to keep them in the Harris, but that's hard to maneuver.
Well, your cheapest other, because the problem is the motorized ones are, I believe, AVA2. Yeah, so you only ever get 2 of them, which means someone on foot is chasing them around, and all the foot ones are 4/4. So your cheapest option to upgrade to take is that another SMG bounty hunter, who's 12 points, and you have them basically just running after those guys as fast as they can to keep up. But triple tapping chain bolts is cool.
You could take a remote, either the missile bot or the Rudra.
You could take the wild card, yeah. Take the wild card and put it instead. Yeah, the Rudra's cool. I mean, the Rudra's no joke. We'll get to the Rudra in a minute, but it is no joke, and you can link it for extra burst. And they're regular. Authorized bounty hunters being regular is sweet. Of course, the motorized ones are irregular, which means you can't use their orders to move the fire team. All right, so that's all the A's. Looking at B's and C's, we are into CSUs, corporate security units. I don't think we've talked about these before, although they do appear occasionally as ITS models. They are metachemistry instead of booty, so they're a lot like a bounty hunter. They're regular in this list: 4/4 movement, CC16, BS12, Phys 10, Whip 12, BTS3, and Armor 0, 1 wound, size 2. Metachemistry can get them some neat stuff. If you roll metachemistry and you roll a fun skill like, I don't know, super jump or +3 Phys, regeneration, climbing plus, they can even find a motorcycle and become move 8/4. They can get +6 BTS. And if you roll really high, you actually stack these skills sometimes and get no wounding cap, armor and bioimmunity, Doggett and total immunity. The giant moves plus super jump, the giant moves plus climbing plus. So if you roll a 19, it's move 8/4 climbing plus, which is pretty great. They get a variety of specialist options: a rifle light shotgun and a breaker combi, and then a pulse for +1 burst. And then those same profiles as non-specialist plus a boarding shotgun profile. So they're neat. They're all 12 to 15 points for the breaker rifle. I think it's the most expensive. And the specialist rifle light shotgun is only 11 points. So if you're looking for like just a cheap defense unit, they're not quite Ravenized, but they can get a lot of work done. Suppressing breaker rifle is no joke, and they can piece trade really well with the double nanopulsars. Any thoughts on these guys?
I mean, I like them. They're just cheap little options to fill out your list if you have too many bikinis already.
I like that they're dirt cheap 6 cents regular orders. Like nanopulsar +1 burst with 6 cents in your back corner means no one's dropping in that area.
Yeah,
because
if they shoot you, shoot back.
Buy them. Well, no, 6 cents is if they just enter within its zone of control, it just attacks.
That too. That's what I mean. Yeah. You're just shooting. Like, it doesn't matter where you're facing, basically, if it's in zone of control, right?
Wait, no, you still can't attack behind you, can you?
If they shoot you. Oh no, so you can
with
can
6
ARO
cents, you can just
inside
ARO.
zone of control. That's right. Inside zone of control you can. And if they shoot you from outside arrow, then you can shoot back.
Yeah.
But you have to dodge if they're behind you, don't you?
No. 6 cents allows you to just act.
Let's double check, because now it feels
allows
like
the
times where I'm pretty sure Owen and I are right, but this might be one of those times where we're remembering something wrong. Or Dan knows more than us because he has been doing this more recently than us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
You have a 360 line of fire arc.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, if you get attacked.
Yeah. Well, I guess actually the requirement now is that it's only if you're target of attack. You don't get it anymore from just anything.
And yes.
And then it ignores stealth.
Yeah. Ignore stealth completely, yeah.
Yeah, so you can always react. So I guess it's not the same as I'm remembering where you could.
Yeah, the zone of control thing's not the same, but if it attacks you, then you have 360 line of fire, which is sweet. All right, so then we got Diva functionaries. Now these are the first of the EI aspects that are like line infantry. Divas are sort of the general purpose veteran troops that make up like the core of your army. And they're pretty tough. Now they're going to range in the mid-20s for points, move 4/4, CC 15, BS 12, Phys 11, Whip 15, which is great. Arm 2, BTS 3, 1 wound, size 2, and you can take up to 5 of them. They have courage. They all have number 2, which can become really important when you mix them into a Dakini link, and then no wounding cap as well. So relatively tough, but no shock immune, so shock will put them down permanently. You can get a combi rifle nanopulsar for 23 points, and then the same can also have a Diva bot. Diva bots are just a heavy flamethrower sync bot, which have courage and shock immune, which is nice. 6/4, little heavy flamethrower. You can have a multi-rifle version for a couple extra points. A hacker, a killer hacker with a boarding shotgun, triangulated fire sensor, forward observer that gets the flash pulse too, MSV2 Spitfire, 2 lieutenant options, one with a Diva bot, and a triangulated fire sensor lieutenant option for 24 points. It's actually kind of a cool lieutenant in that you have this like sort of sleepy basic Diva that can still do something with that order, and triangulated fire is kind of neat. Any thoughts on these guys? They basically form, in my opinion, a way of conserving your command tokens and Daikini links. So you can risk your Daikinis as gunfighters, and when they go down, this guy just becomes the link or the fire team leader, and you don't have to reform the link. And hopefully during the same turn, you can just pop that guy back up and then wait until you're in your turn, and he just reforms your next tactical phase.
I think these guys are great. I think they're such good like staple on for 25-ish points. The killer hacker with whip 15 going to 18 using Trinity, and having an extra-ish wound so that if he accidentally messes up, he doesn't just die.
Oh, just you wait.
Yeah, I know there's other scary hackers, but
I know there's not a killer hacker, but there's a great hacker that's coming up in a second. That Spitfire is great too. That Spitfire is fantastic because you don't have an MSV option for the Daikini link, so it gives you an MSV option to put in that 5-man core team. It's only 33 points for the Spitfire, and only one SWC. That's one of the things is the SWC on these guys is really low.
And multi-spectre visor level 2.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have like a floating couple points to bring a Diva bot with a Deva functionary, you can go clean up a bunch of stuff with that. Like the Deva bot he's 6'4", he's crazy fast. And so you can have him running ahead of your functionary and he'll be like, I found all the mines, sir. Mission accomplished. Like 4 points.
Yeah.
Job well done.
You did great. Thanks, Diva bot.
And maybe you dodge.
Maybe he gets lucky and lives.
Maybe he makes that fist 10 dodge. You never know.
He probably doesn't.
He is shock immune, so the mine won't kill him automatically, which is
just
great.
make the armor save.
That's
Easy.
right.
That's what I always did.
That's fair. We got Danivis hackers. This is the first hacker I was going to talk about. We're CC 15, BS 11, Fizz 11, Whip 15 though. Arm 1 BTS 3 with 1 wound. You can have 3 of these for 22 points each. They are hackers, hacking device plus with upgrade Oblivion +1 burst.
Now Oblivion
for 22 points. You become isolated. Yep, and they're built-in pitchers. So for 22 points, you can just pitcher out and then +1 burst Oblivion.
Wow, for only 7 points less and no Swick, you could have a Bereed.
It's true, but the Brid's not hack device plus, which means you also have access to, more importantly,
smiley face.
Not just smiley face, but you have access to white noise.
They both get that, but yeah, white noise.
White noise is the big thing. Yeah. The white noise is huge for 22 points. And Whip 15, which is the same as the Brid, but great. In this army in particular, it's a relative
don't get
deal.
Trinity on a hacking device plus.
Oh. No. It's the only thing you don't get. That's why Jazz is so cool because she gets as an upgrade.
Yeah.
But the +1 burst Oblivion is legit.
So it goes to 3 bursts on active turn?
No, it's burst 1 normally in active turn. It goes to burst 2.
Okay.
No, Oblivion is burst 2. It goes to 3.
Burst 3. So that's right. Yeah. It becomes Trinity Oblivion. Yeah, it's a and combine that with a pitcher, and you've got a fantastic is there a hard target over there? That guy can't talk to you anymore. He is no longer talking to you.
Yeah, even just as an ARO piece,
right?
Like Oblivion's scary, and putting it on a guy who's got a high whip, and it's
and throwing pitchers. Like you'll have lots of hackers in this. Some of them are going to want to hide in Cybermass probably, but having lots of hackers is a nice having pitchers to be able to deploy that hacking net is nice. And Aleph in general, but Subsection has a great ability to put a really strong defensive hat network if they want to.
You still use your BS to throw the pitcher though, right?
Sure do. BS 11.
So okay.
So that is D. If anybody can hear the freezing rain peppering my window, I apologize, but that's now starting to come down again. So Danivis hackers, we're looking at. For some reason, mine doesn't alphabetize. So
in your app, in the app it should.
My next choice is Father Lucian. I was
going to say Sforza. He's the bounty hunter special character. We haven't talked about this guy before, I don't think. Nope. We talked about Miranda Ashcroft, but this guy's got Hollow Mask built in, so he can pretend to be somebody else in an X-Visor. Courage, Stealth, and Doggett. He's 28 points or 26 points, but he's got some pretty cool gear. Specifically, Surprise Deck -3 Hollow Projector with a Viral Rifle, +1 Burst Adhesive Launcher and a Nanopulsar, Heavy Pistol, and a Pericles Count Weapon -6. Courage, Stealth, Doggett. BS 13, which is legit. Fizz 11, Whip 13, 2 armor, 0 BTS, 1 wound size 2. And you can have one of this guy. He is a really neat. And he's got an FTO option for putting on a Harris if you want to. But a Viral Rifle is no joke.
Linkable X-Visor Viral Rifle is great.
Is great. Yeah, absolutely. If you got problems with Ariadna, you think you're gonna have to face Ariadna, this guy is a total immune hunter. He does not care for the guys with no BTS.
Exactly.
So I dogs.
If you have an Ariadna guy you play against, I would play him or bring him. Or maybe he's in one of your lists in a tournament setting in case you're going up against Ariadna. But I mean, it's a lot of points for like a vial rifle with 1 wound, and Doggett on a 28 point model or 26. A Doggett's pretty expensive. Like he's just going to die with that.
He's probably not going to show up often in your army lists, but he's a neat pocket guy to have if you're having problems with Ariadna.
Or if you really wanted to lean into the like CSU bounty hunter, authorized bounty hunter, motorized bounty hunter, like you could do something cool there.
Yeah, and he can clear mines. He's got a holo projector too. You can throw out holo echoes to clear mines and get rid of like perimeter weapons and stuff. He's got a bunch of utility for 28 points if you want to take him that way.
Okay,
and
so
surprise stack makes him a cool hunting piece.
When you deploy a holo projector, it's 3 models. Because he has holo mask, he could pretend to be a different model than himself.
He could just be 3 authorized bounty hunters or 3. You know what I mean? Like you could pretend
they
he's
do
a
have
Harris.
to all be the same thing.
Yeah, they all have to be the same thing, but you do have to declare, or if they ask, you can have to say what group they're in for orders, I guess.
And you're gonna, as soon as you issue them an order and they all move without having a link or a fire team marker next to them, you're gonna know that they're a holo projector.
But before they move,
they're just gonna be standing there looking like they're 3 of something.
Could be 3 of something. So yeah, I mean that's always fun. You could always do something.
He's got some shell yields. Yeah, some shell game stuff, which is cool. Who'd you have next on your list, Owen?
After that is the ITS Corsair, ITS Sectet, and then Miranda Ashcroft.
And then Miranda Ashcroft. All right. This is other character, authorized bounty hunter. I think we've been through her before. She's got
we missed Trisha at the top.
Did we miss Trisha already? Oh, she's in T, so I figured she was after this.
But it's Chandra Specialist Operative.
Oh, mine doesn't say that because it's not the app. I'm looking at the web version. So Trisha N33 is the, you know what, let's just do Miranda because we'll finish off the authorized bounty hunters and screw Dan. We talked about her before. CC19, she's not quite CC20. She's got that Odalisque -6 instead of -9 CC attack. Mid -6 specialist stealth, BS12. She can have a multi-rifle nanopulsar, a boarding shotgun, a combi Emirat +1 or emitter +1 burst, or a nanopulsar for like in the mid 20 points. She's cool. I think just like I told Dan earlier, she makes a great dismount for your authorized bounty hunter model.
Give her CC20. God.
Yeah, just give her no fail state. Yeah, just give her no fail state.
Just no fail would be, I mean, I'd say 23 so that if martial arts people fight
there's
her,
still no fail state. Yeah.
There's still not fail state, but like she goes up against a martial arts guy and there's a 20% chance that you just won't succeed is like, wait, aren't you supposed to be good at this? Like
she has a monofilament close combat weapon too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Be a shame she missed.
Our comments pretty much hold. She's neat. She's great. She's perfect dismount for bounty hunters.
Yep.
Yeah.
Trisha is and I would call her a discount Parvati. If you don't need a doctor, and very often in this list you don't need a doctor because you're trying to repair structure and not wounds. Chandra Specialist Operative Trisha N33 is great. Like I said before, she's a detective that's been on ice for 20 years and gets brought back after fighting the Russian mob. She's 6'2" move, which is cool for a specialist. CC 17, BS 12, Phys 11, Whip 14, Arm 1, BTS 3. And she's a deactivator gizmo kit, courage, engineer, immunity, shock, and dogged. She's got a breaker combi, nanopulsar, D-charges, and EM mines, which makes her wonderful at disrupting heavy infantry and anyone who's like being isolated assaults. For only 26 points. She's great when you're taking anything with structure. And she actually, I think, has a home too in vanilla Aleph, which we'll talk about later on, in that she's relatively versatile on top of having that engineer skill, right? The EM mines are a big plus. The ability to be dogged and get there, and the 6'2" move, which can let her keep up with a Udbot if you want to give her a peripheral. As of course, these guys have access to all the generic human sphere remotes, which we'll get to in a minute and talk about some of their variations. But the Udbot is the basic helper bot, the G servant.
The 6'2" move is really nice on an engineer to just kind of get up there and fix stuff,
or to get up somewhere and put a mine. That's actually what I look at it as is she's really good at getting to somewhere interesting to not just repair things, but also cause some damage. Breaker combi's cool. EM mines are great, which means you don't want to go near her. So if people want to try and assassinate your engineer, she can be doing objectives and also putting down EM mines to defend them once it's all said and done. So I think she's a great piece. 26 points is a relative bargain for the amount of gear she's carrying. And yeah, she's good at her job.
And yeah, Whip 14 is not bad at all.
When price isn't an issue, though, then you get Parvati. And Dan, you played with Parvati.
Yeah, she's great.
We talked about her when we talked about O12. 6'2 move, CC 15, BS 12, Fizz 10, Whip 15 with bonuses. Arm 2 BTS 6, 2 structure, and size 2. So you could get Trisha to fix Parvati if you want, because she has structure. And she got Deactivator, Special Skills, Remote Presence, Courage, Immunity Shock, Doctor 2 Wounds, which is huge. And she's a wild card, which means she could just go give the Asura her wounds back if she wants. Engineer +3, so she's Whip 18 when she engineers. Dodge +3, so she Fizz 13 when she dodges, and she super jumps. She's 38 points, though. You're looking at a whole authorized bounty hunter more points than Trisha.
She's really pricey. It's almost difficult to put her inside of a link, because then you're like, well, she's only helping those people ish.
When you see how expensive an Asura is, though, you'll see how expensive that link can get real fast. Yeah, she makes that Harris team real spendy real fast.
But it's just the fact that the Whip 15, the Doctor 2 Wounds, the Engineer +3, she kind of just she's your
such
one
a good
order
fighter too. Like BS
Yeah.
12 with a +1 burst SMG is no joke. Like the fact that she's 2 structure as well with armor 2, so like you could go fight people with a super jumping dodge 5 or dodge 13 6'2 machine gunner.
Yeah, she's not a support piece that gets run over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's like a close range gunfighter on top of being a support piece, and she's got 2 wounds and arm 2.
Yeah.
So she's not just gonna fold in a
And
gunfight.
remote
right?
presence. So if you do happen to have another engineer, like you can do the 2 states of unconscious to get brought back from.
Mm-hmm. And super jump gets her wherever she needs to go. So she's interesting.
and she's
she's
remote
linkable.
presence without being hackable.
Yeah. Yeah, she's super weird because she's light infantry but not hackable. Yeah. That's because she's an L. I think she's either an L host or she's a post team, and I think she's actually an L host. She's a piece of the EI.
Yeah, she's really cool. She's very expensive, but when you bring her, she just always gets her job done.
Yeah, she does what it says on the tin. And then we got some net rods. Now these are AVA2 in this faction. A net rod is, I don't think we've ever talked about these before, but they're basically a antenna that talks to the EI. You don't get to deploy them as normal. They have to be deployed by combat jump during the deployment phase. And if you fail your Fizz check, which is a fixed 12, then these guys will end up on a edge of a table. Now, there's some interesting things about them. They provide an order. They're 6 points. They've gone up actually recently because they used to be 4. Arm 0, BTS 3, 1 structure. And they're AVA 2. So you get 2 orders for 12 points. Almost all armies of Aleph start with as many of these as you can take, because not only are they cheap regular orders, they're also veteran, which means they can't, if you go into Lost Lieutenant, or if you have any kind of state that gets rid of like your regular state on your troopers, you're going to have at least 2 regulars to play with because of these net rods. So usually you jump them somewhere super safe, they can never be seen. I've even jumped them onto, in the game actually that went up last week for Infinity, where I played Jordan, I jumped mine onto both. He had to deploy first, so he put down his HVT first. I put my HVT next to his, and then jump my net rod next to them, because we're playing Firefight where there's 3 classifieds, and I wanted to just do 2. So I just jumped my net rod next to them so that I could secure both HVTs. And then it just if anything comes near it, kill it, and I have that for the whole game. And he was like, "Oh, I see what you're doing," and immediately sent Gazis to go and try and get those guys, and they didn't care because they couldn't be jammered. So I love net rods. They're great.
The fact that they're size 2 now and unable to get prone, I find they're much more vulnerable than they had been. Because you can't prone on combat jump, and size 2 means you're giant man, like you're the size of a normal guy.
Yeah.
And so like if you're on rooftops, unless it's like really specific, many times some guy is just going to be like, oh, I'm going to move forward. Oh, I'm going to hop a little bit with my super jump just so I can see the top of that net rod and just blow it away.
You want a corner to hide in for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're great cheap pocket pieces, and even just hide them in group 2 where they're not necessarily tasty targets, because they're not going to take any orders right away. It gives you access to these orders later on during the game.
And the inability to have cover unless they're elevated, because you can't combat jump up against a terrain feature.
That's right.
Like, amusingly, no, you can't walk in from the side either. They're neat, but like if you're playing opponents who've played against you before, be ready for them to like send a guy to just like the Gazis, for example.
You need a place to stick them, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We got Sophatex. Now, this is when you don't want to take Parvati and you don't want to take Trisha, but you still want to have a Doctor Engineer. And there's 6-4 move, CC 13, BS 11, Fizz 11, Whip 15, Arm 2. They got Gizmo kits and med kits, Courage Engineer, Doctor, no wounding cap. Combi rifle decharge, pistol goes open for 31 points. So you're basically buying both your characters at once.
This is definitely budget Parvati.
Yes, this used to be a great piece, and it's available actually still in a lot of armies. Imperial Service can take them. There's a bunch of armies that can take Sophatex. Can Stormwater take them? Did we talk about them already?
I don't think so.
There's a whole lot of factions that get access to Sophatex. They get rented out by Aleph quite a bit. Parvati makes them far less compelling for 7 extra points.
I guess it's only 7, yeah.
Yeah, 7 extra points for a Sophatex, and you're gonna get, or for a Parvati, and you're gonna get the offensive capability, the extra wound. That's a real extra wound. That's structure, right? Shock immunity, whip 18 for your engineering, 2 wounds for your doctoring. Like, yeah, you spend the 7 points. If you're gonna do something that's a doctor engineer, you probably take Parvati. If you gotta fit it in, if you're just juggling points around, Sophatex will still do the job. It's just you're getting a discount Parvati or a great Trisha. It's up to you. It's up to you what level of support piece you're taking here. But
you
as a
could
support
do something
piece,
neat with a Sophatex with a Udbot and Parvati as an offensive piece, because then Parvati's right in the thick of it fighting, and then this is your actual backup engineer who can grab Parvati, who then can fix everyone.
Yeah, you are investing 69 points into kind of support pieces, though, plus viewed bots too, actually. So even more than that.
Yeah,
it depends.
I guess I'm just thinking, who does Parvati run with? Because like Parvati can be fighty as well.
Yeah, all. So I mean, if she's up front in front lines, hanging out with I don't know, Yadu and an Asura, that's not nothing for sure.
Yep.
And then we've got a very important piece in here because you do have a lot of fighting lieutenants inside of Operations Subsection, and that is your chain of command piece, the Shukra Consultant. It is also a lieutenant option in this, although it is not a lieutenant option in vanilla Aleph. So this guy's got a biometric visor, counterintelligence, courage, and discover +3. There's 2 chain of command options, one with a boarding shotgun, with a multi-rifle nanopulsar, 24, 26 points. He's BS 12. He's not a great fighter, but he can defend himself. And then his lieutenant option is Strategos level 1, which means you'll be able to use that lieutenant order as a regular order, which is kind of cool. So extra order, if you take him as the 24-point lieutenant, there's reasons to, but very often you want your lieutenant to be fighty. There's reasons to use him as a hideaway piece and have people assume he's the lieutenant and then go after him later on. So he does kind of have a target painted on him no matter what, because he's your only chain of command piece. Everyone's going to know that. If they know anything about the faction, and he could also just be your lieutenant and then also have a target on his back. If that lieutenant order all of a sudden gets converted into a regular order, they're going to know who he is.
He's still, yeah. I mean, Strategos is, I think, so useful because I don't know how much NCO is in this faction.
All the Yadus have NCO,
right?
Yeah, there is NCO in this faction, and also I believe you can get NCO on Weird Tag. I might be wrong about that. There is some NCO in this though.
There's just one NCO, and it's only one profile of the Yadu.
There you go.
So having Strategos is nice to be able to use that lieutenant order on whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. If you're not taking a fighting lieutenant, which a lot of times you will.
Okay.
I think that's all our light infantry, except for the War Corps. It's a War Corps. We know what War Corps do. They flash pulse people. They flash them real good. And they have 6 cents or 360 visors. I mean, I like 6 cents, but dealer's choice. You got 3 points, take a War Corps.
Did we talk about post-humans already? Or are they next for you?
They're medium infantry.
They're not.
They're a mix. Sorry, they're a bunch of things. Sorry, they don't show up on my tab right now for light infantry, but you're right. Yes, they are light infantry as well.
They're everything.
But they're also heavy. We'll start with the light infantry version. So, let's just do them all at once. We might as well. So post-humans are, again, like I said, these are cubes that have been given the gift of immortality by Aleph, and multiple bodies. So when you buy post-humans, you have to buy at least 2. They're incredibly cheap for what they do. And you can only have 1 of each mark in your army, up to 5 of them, or up to 3 of them, sorry, because they're AVA. No, they're AVA 1 each. Or maybe it's AVA 3 overall. 1 second,
you get either 2 or 3 because that's the
right,
rules
2 or
on
3.
Jumper.
That's right, because jumper's 2 or 3, yeah. Because they're all AVA 1, but yeah, you can't take every single one of them.
I'm so confused by these guys. I'm excited for you to explain it.
Okay, so basically you take at least 2, and what you have is you have an active proxy token that you put next to wherever the brain is currently living. When it's active, it is treated like a normal trooper, and at the start of any order, you can issue one of the other proxies in order and move the active order token to it. It can be anywhere on the board, no limit for range. So think of it like no matter how many proxies you buy, 2 to 3, and no matter which ones you buy, they only generate 1 order. And until all 3 of those proxies are dead, that order never goes away. It's 1 order living in 3 bodies, and it jumps around depending on who's active. The unactive ones can still ARO, but only with reset and dodge.
And they only count as 1 trooper for combat groups?
That's right. So if you take 3 of them, they're a single trooper generating a single order.
Wow.
So in the Mark 1 profile, you have Jumper, Courage, Mimetism -3, and no wounding cap. And this is your Hacker, Engineer, and Doctor. They're basically super cheap support staff and kind of really worth it. If you're not going to take one of your like elite support pieces, like I said, a Self Attack or Parvati or Trisha, you get one of your others covered. So a lot of times you're going to take Trisha, right? She's an engineer. Take the Doctor. The Doctor's 13 points. You've got a Whip 15 Doctor with Mimetism, no wounding cap, Jumper, and Courage. It's BS 13 base, 2 armor, 3 BTS, 1 wound. You also have a hacker profile with a combi rifle, and a doctor, like I said, engineer profile as well with decharges and a gizmo kit and a deactivator. The hacker's 14 points and half an SWC. The other ones are just 13 points. So really cheap. A very popular combo is the Mark 1 with a Mark 5 forward observer, who's also 13 points. And is like your infiltrator forward observer model. So for 26 points, it can be in 2 places and be very hard to lose that order because you have to kill both these models before the order goes away.
Question.
Yes.
Can you bring a Ude bot with these
Sure
guys?
can. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But only when that profile activates is the Ude bot move because it's attached to that profile, right? So then your proxy Mark 2, it's an elite troop. It is a skirmisher. It's CC 13, BS 13, Fizz 13, Whip 15, 1 armor. But this one's got Surprise Attack -3, Courage, Camouflage, Infiltration, Mim -6, Stealth, no wounding cap, and terrain total. And you have either a hacker with a hacking device and a boarding shotgun for 25 points and 0.5 SWC, or a multi-sniper rifle for 1.5 and 28. So again, you'll notice these profiles are really cheap because they're not generating orders, right? There's only 1 order being generated, and you're basically paying almost half price for what that guy would probably normally cost based on his stat line. The Mark 3 is heavy infantry. It's just a single profile, 23 points, 1.5 SWC, an AP Spitfire nanopulsar, 6-2 move, CC 13, BS 13. It's heavy infantry, Fizz 14, Whip 15, Arm 4, BTS 3, 2 wounds, size 2. It's got Jumper, Courage, and immunity to shock. So just a brawler piece for 23 points with an AP Spitfire. I have mine painted up. It's not super popular, but I kind of like the profile because while you do have lots of good ability to hit in this faction, you don't have a lot of armor crack. So a pocket AP Spitfire that if it goes down doesn't lose you an order is pretty legit.
On a 2 wound armor 4 base, it's not bad either.
Yeah, BTS.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. Yeah, the 2 wounds is great.
It's a heavy infantry, yeah. It's a full-on heavy infantry. The Mark 4 is going to give you Courage, Immunity, Shock. Now this guy's heavy. Move 4-4, CC 13, BS 13, Fizz 14, Whip 15, Arm 5, BTS 6, 2 wounds. HMG Nanopulsar or a heavy rocket launcher SMG Nanopulsar. So this is the heavy with the non-brawler guns and the long-range firepower. Cheap though still. They're all 1.5 SWC, but 25 points for the heavy machine gun and 21 for the heavy rocket launcher. And the heavy rocket launcher can get some work done because think about an ARO piece standing up that you don't care if it dies because you don't lose any orders. So you just stand up and fight the world Arm 5 in cover, being like, sure, go for it. I'm 21 points. You can rapidly run at SWC, though, buying proxies. Proxies are a lot of SWC. The point costs are low, but the SWC costs can be high.
I see that, yeah.
Then the Proxy Mark 5, again, 4-4 move, CC 14, BS 13, Fizz 11, Whip 15, Arm 3, BTS 3, 1 wound, size 2, Jumper, Courage, forward deployment plus 4 inches, and no wounding cap. You can get a Mark 12 with triangulated fire for 18 points. So 0.5 SWC and 18 points. And then the FO version is SMG plus 1 burst, flashballs, EM grenades for 13 points. And that's why the support piece plus the forward observer is so popular. That's what I got painted up because it's cheap, right? We're looking at a doctor for 13 points, a Yudbot, and then a forward observer. So you're staying in two places at once.
And all BS13 and all WIP 15. And oh man,
they do what they do. I think proxies are a underrated. They're kind of like the puppet bots, the puppet nautica of or the pupniks of this faction. If you can take them, you take them.
I can see how it could get expensive points wise, and so then you're struggling to hit 15 orders without just putting in too many cheerleaders. But it'd be cool to experiment with some of these.
For me personally, I really like the FO plus doctor option if you're going to take Trisha.
Yeah, because it's not a lot of points.
26 points. Buy him a Yudbot for 29.
I've had trouble with basically any of the profiles on here that are like fighters.
Yeah.
And we'll get to it as we go further along because like I like the support teams, like the little hacker and the little doctor and the little forward observer guy, like that trio, or even just the two of them, like FO plus pick one of the other three from the proxy mark ones.
Right.
Because then they're like 25, 26, 27 points. Which seems more reasonable for me because like there's a lot of fighters in this that like they're expensive and they're also kind of better. They all have something going on a little more than like BS13 with a rocket. It's like,
it is a horses for courses thing though. I think there's multiple ways to lean in, and the thing with the proxies I think that's very underrated is the fact that you're attritioning your opponent, and if they're losing pieces, they're losing orders and you're not. If you lose pieces, right? I think that's the big thing with the proxies is they punch above their cost and they are tough and relatively easy to get back up, right? Because like you can the proxy can send its own Yudbot to go heal that, like that rocket launcher without losing any orders. Like you just spent the same guy's doing it to fix his other body to stand back up in and go fight.
That's
so yeah. Well, I mean, and think about that whole combo is 16 points for the doctor with the Yudbot, and then another 21 points. So you're looking at 37 points and 1.5 SWC for that combo. For I didn't lose anything if I went down, and I'm immune to shock, and I'm arm 5 in cover with a heavy rocket launcher. Let's go.
Yep.
I like them. All right, so we're in a medium infantry. And again, like I said, this is a fairly shallow profile list. We've already talked about the profile for post-humans. There's only 3 other in here. We'll start with the Arjuna unit. Now, this is your peripheral carrier. It's kind of like is it the Lynx in 012, Dan? That has not the Lynx, the other one. Who's got the peripheral? Who's the one that walks around with the sync?
The Raptor.
The Raptor. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, the Raptors. The Arjunas are a bit like that. A bit heightier. They're 6'2" move.
I love the Arjuna. They're like easily my favorite profile in this faction.
And the models are actually really cool too. They're not that new, but they're really cool. So CC15, BS12, Phys 11, Whip 14, Arm 3, BTS 3, 1 wound. Their Courage, Min -3 specialist operatives, base. And then they've got a couple of profiles with or without Karan bots, or 2 Karan bots. And the Karan bots are amazing because they have Emirats and Cybermines. So your peripheral has an Emirat.
Jesus.
Yeah, with a 6'2" move, CC 13, BS 10, Phys 10, Whip
which
11
is irrelevant.
which is irrelevant. Well,
yeah,
the Phys 10 is irrelevant because you're dodge +3, which means you're actually Phys 13 to dodge, and then your Courage and immune to shock. And you can have 2 of these guys linked to each Arjuna. So you have 2 maximum Arjunas, and they're relatively fighty. So there's a boarding shotgun, acrylic cannon decharge profile that can have 1 or 2 Karan box, a Shark marksman rifle with decharges and 1 or 2 Karan bots, and then just a Spitfire with 1 or 2 Karan bots. And they all float into the 30s. Like I think your cheapest is 34 points with 2 Karan bots.
There's a 26, but if you want the Karan bots, which you do,
yeah,
you're looking at 34-ish, 30, 36.
Yeah, I like the Shock Marksman personally because it doesn't cost you any SWC. It's 36 points. But there's something to be said for the boarding shotgun too. I think both of those at 70 points, you're looking at 6 models, right? They're specialist button pushers, and those Karan bots can get so much work done. Much work done.
Oh, and they're all specialist up. I totally, man, these guys kind of got a
Well,
little
and,
of everything.
and think about this is when he says I'm going to deploy repeatable, both of his Cran bots deploy cyber mines.
Oh, mother effort.
Right? So
Yeah.
you're deploying 2 mines at a time with the Cran bots.
Wait, and then
Those are both
cyber
sent
mines
to him.
don't go off unless a hacker goes nearby,
Yeah.
right?
That's
Right.
right. Yeah,
So if
true,
there's a
hackers.
camo marker that you're like, I'm pretty sure that that's going to be a hacker, you can have the Coran bots just put cyber mines down and then just start discovering.
Or
like,
intuitive
"I'll see
attacking
you."
your boarding shotgun into it, or intuitive attacking your Emerald into it.
Or intuitive attacking all of them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's a bad man. I'm gonna get him. Or the marksman rifle teamed up with the Marat, where you have one Coran bot just like walk into the open and look at the enemy, and then you're like, I peek the corner with my marksman rifle.
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
What would you like to do?
Fight my marksman rifle, or do you want to fight my Marat?
Also, I've littered this entire area with cyber mines.
Yeah.
I mean, and with Whip 14, you can do a decent discover shoot.
70% chance, yeah. 70% chance. You got mimetism built baked in, you're a specialist baked in too, which can be a liability in certain missions, but if you're gonna take one or two of these guys just for like wet work, I think one is really reasonable with double Coran bots just to go get work done with a boarding shotgun, because you get all intuitive attack too if you want to.
Yeah, these guys are fun.
I like them. They're not inexpensive, but they have a lot going on.
Yes.
Then we got Yadus. So this is your other core fire team you can take. 6-2 move, which is a neat upgrade. CC 15, BS 13, Fizz 12, Whip 14, Arm 3, BTS 3, 1 wound, size 2, and their courage, immune to shock, number 2, no wounding cap, and veteran. Veteran's a big deal, but it does push their cost up quite a bit. Now, that being said, the base profile of these guys is 34 points, carries a multi-rifle, Emerald, and drop bears, which is a really cool amount of stuff. You can get an FO1 for 35 points, an NCO with an HMG for 40 points, Lieutenant as well with the same profile for 34, and then also a hacker with hacking device upgrade, carbonite +1 damage, and a boarding shotgun. There's a heavy rocket version as well for 32 points. So again, a core team of these guys is incredibly expensive. You can cheapen it a little bit with taking like the cheaper profiles like the heavy rocket launcher and stuff like that, but then you're paying SWC cost. You're still looking at 160 to 165 points to take these guys as like a full 5-man core team. And you got a character model and go with them, which is Shakti. She has killer hacking device, upgrade +1 damage to all the programs. Courage, immune shock, number 2 veteran. She's kind of the same core profile, but she's CC 18. And she's got a hacker profile on top of she is a hacker, with Mark 12 and Emerat, or Mark 12 Lieutenant Hacker as well. They're both 41 points. So she's neat, and because she's got that potentially NCO in her fire team, she can push that around with that lieutenant order, which is kind of cool. She's a neat, but again, this is like a spendy fighty lieutenant, which means you got to invest in some chain of command.
I don't actually understand the lieutenant option here. I don't know why I would take her as lieutenant.
As a fighting lieutenant, you use your killer hacking device to go into Cyber Mask, and then you hide during your reactive turn. I would say you just don't take her as a fire team. Like, you just don't stick her in a fire team, and she's a discount. We're gonna see in a second, Asura.
I guess having your
not enough of a discount, in my opinion.
No, and the Asura is the only heavy infantry you have access to that isn't the post-human. But boy, howdy, is the Asura heavy infantry.
I guess to finish on Yadu, I feel like they have I like carbonite +1 damage.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like NCO, but usually you don't need NCO because you got a lot of strategos, or your lieutenant is going to be spending their orders, which we'll get to there. Yadu, it's like you can either lean into it and be like, I want to play Yadu, and you go all in and build like a 5-man team with Shakti and do the thing, or you're bringing 1, maybe 2, so they can team up with your Asura. But you probably didn't even do that because you probably gave the Asura the wild cards. Yes.
Well, I mean, the Asura also doesn't need most of this help because the Asura is probably also a hacker. Maybe, you know what I mean?
Sure. I just mean if you wanted to bring these at all, this is the role that they're going to play. You wanted to go
typically
with
a Harris team,
the Harris of Asura.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all I see.
Yeah,
I mean, you could do something really cool with a NCO HMG who's BS 19 with link bonuses, with no wounding cap veteran. This is something.
It's definitely not nothing.
Yeah.
But when you look at like that
it.
lieutenant option, like Dan said, it's like, I don't know why you take Shakti. And it's like, well, you take Shakti if you want to spend 28 less points than taking an Asura. But the Asura comes with so much more. So Asuras are the pinnacle of it. There's two things you could be and have like a really heavy aspect of the EI as a leadership model. You can be an Asura, or you can be a tag. You can be the Marut. And both of these have the eye that sees everything. They have the MSV level 3, which just auto passes discovers. You just discover. Doesn't matter who they are. Doesn't matter how far they are. Doesn't matter what they're hiding behind. You can see them. They lose their camo state. Period. Move 6-2, CC20, BS14, Fizz 14, Whip 15, Arm 5, BTS 6, 2 wounds, and size 2. You can take up to 4 of these, but good luck.
Why are they
you could have
AV4?
a
That's so
full
confusing.
Harris of them if you want, and still have a fighting lieutenant. They're courage, immune shock, no wounding cap too, so they're effectively 3 wounds.
I played that list before.
I know you have. I had to play against it.
It was wonderful.
It was something. So when you're talking about, young, fresh-faced N3 Owen looking for the mechanical power in a faction, he saw this profile and just shit his pants.
No, this was the tail end of N3.
I know,
because that was when this came out, and I was like, wait a second.
Joan can go
could just
take a
print
nap.
3 of these?
Look at this thing. So there's basically 2 profiles, but different skills on the 2 profiles. You have a multi-rifle profile with a nanopulsar, AP close combat weapon. And remember, this thing is Fizz 14 CC 20. It's actually not undefendable in melee. And then a Spitfire nanopulsar with the same gear at 1.5 SAVC, but that's 63 points. Then you got the Lieutenant +1 order options with both those gear for slightly more points because the +1 order costs you. So you're looking at 63 points for the multi-rifle and 67 for the Spitfire. And you have Hacking Device with Upgrade Trinity +2 damage. So it's Hacking Device plus Upgrade Trinity +1 damage, or +2 damage, means you also have access to Cyber Mask, and you also have access to White Noise. You have access to literally every profile, every hacking program, because you're an aspect of the EI. But it's only equipped to the multi-rifle version. You can't have the Spitfire and also the Hacking Device. And then finally, there's a final version, the 69-point most expensive version, which is all that, plus you're the Lieutenant +1 order. So you're Lieutenant, Hacking Device plus, Upgrade Trinity +2 damage, multi-rifle nanopulsar. And that one's super popular as either a Harrist or a just individual fighting lieutenant that then goes into Cyber Mask at the end of the turn to not get killed.
I guess the only problem is you get Lieutenant +1 orders, so that gives you 2 Lieutenant orders, or just
Yep.
Okay.
But if you're by yourself, right, you don't care.
Right, but if you're in a Harris, it's like
That's right. If you're in the Harris, you probably don't take that as your lieutenant. You take the multi-rifle, or you take the Spitfire and you stick it in the Harris. Or you take the hacker and stick it in the Harris without being a lieutenant.
Right.
And if you do that, then there is a bit of like, who knows, because both the because you're +1 order. Jeez, never mind. You would know that the that there's no 2 lieutenant orders. You would know that the lieutenant's the Shukra.
I guess the Yadu. I guess the Yadu can be Harris with them and then
NCO.
To the NCO, but that's expensive as a heavy machine gun.
Well, when you try to make a list here, Dan, you will struggle to get to over like 11 or 12 models if you start taking Asuras. They are crazy.
Don't worry, I made 2 really stupid lists.
I'm excited.
That doesn't sound like you.
I'm super excited.
They definitely have 10 orders.
So the next thing up, as after passing heavy infantry, is the one tag you have access to, which actually is it's got 2 new sculpts. There's a new ITS sculpt plus the current new Psyocast sculpt, which is the Marut. And this is
I saw that.
Yeah, 6-4 move, CC 18, BS 15, Fizz 17, Whip 15, Arm 9, Army 8, BTS 9, 3 structure, size 7 tag. You can take up to 2 of these. They're ECM guided -6, MSV 2. And then the usual remote presence, +1 damage, BS, courage, Fizz 11 dodge, immune shock, gizmo kit 13, attack aware, and terrain total. You got a core option, which is 95 points, 1.5 SWC, and it's got a multi-HMG, heavy flamethrower nanopulsar, and then there's a Lieutenant Strategos level 2 version that's 99 points and a 2 SWC. So if you want to take 2 of these things, which I'm assuming one of Owen's lists did. You're looking at what is it?
You're not
194 points spent. 194 points and 2 net rods to start off with. So
That's right.
You can break out your Carcata ancillary remote for a specialist. So if you need to get out, you got a little remote presence guy that pops off your chest.
This is another model that the resculpt made me sad.
The resculpt's cool though. Have you seen the new one? The one that comes in the special action pack? It's pretty great.
His gun is a little overboard.
I like it.
It reminds me.
I like that it's holding the gun. Like that's my it's aiming down the barrel. I think is really cool. I like any tech. It's like firing its gun.
If you put that back in Blender and just brought it down 5% or 10%, I think I'd like it more. Like hold it the exact same pose, just the gun isn't bigger than the model. Like it ran into the issue when the Squalo first came out, like the new one, where his gun is as big as he is, and it's like it's the same as the HMG on this random guy, and it's like, it's kind of dumb. But I didn't like it because I liked the weird big head fins that was on the original Marut. And now I'm gonna have to go hunt another Marut down because I used to have one now. And
the metal, you want to find an old metal one? Yeah,
I'm gonna have to find the metal one before they all disappear because
they will.
Yeah,
this is how it goes.
Yeah.
All right.
Not bad, just not for me. That's
not for you. Yeah. So now let's get into the remotes themselves. And I should say, the Marut is a very interesting tag. It has a lot of mechanical power. I actually don't think it's great in OSSS. I think it fits better in vanilla Aleph, where it has more cheap options in like the Myrmidons and the Thoracidae to be able to like shine. It at the end of the day, it's an MSV2 tag, and that's cool, but that doesn't make it that much different from other tags. It makes it mechanically more powerful at fighting like the Avatar or a Cutter when you run into it, and it can bully camo pieces. But the cost differential on it versus like a fighting tag in other factions, it's not really getting anything better when it goes to fight a Gator or a Salamandra or a Dragos or a Yodam.
It is
the fact that it's way OSSS does not have access to smoke really hamstrings the Marut's ability to function. The fact that their vanilla version does instantly, like the fact that a Myrmidon can just be like, here you go. 16 points. I put a smoke down. I'm the cheapest guy in the faction compared to your own faction, and I can instantly and massively improve the Marut's damage output against
by just hiding behind him and just throwing smoke at his own feet.
Yeah, like he can literally use the silhouette of the Marut to hide himself as he puts the smoke down. Like
yeah. So it's not, again, I think it's one of those not bad, just not here kind of a conversations when you're looking at the Marut. Because the investment in it is enormous to take it in the table.
If you take him as lieutenant, you do get Strategos level 2, which is cool, but I don't think it's cool enough.
Well, once again, this is the reduction in power from Strategos level 2.
Yeah,
like I think there's a historical tax when Strategos level 2 had the extra abilities that it no longer does. Because like losing your opponent can't hold models in reserve is a significant hit. Like that was relevant because now all of a sudden they can't hide their tag from you. You know where it is right away.
Yeah, agreed.
You know where the smiley's going to be. Oh, you get to switch a guy between each group. Oh, yes, sweet. I love when my abilities only work if I'm dying.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So then when it comes to remotes, you have access to all of the standard human remotes. So your Dela 3 bot is your FO remote. Its bonuses it gets climbing plus. The Zan is your HMG. You only get one of these guys though. It also has climbing plus. It's your TR bot. Your Samek is your missile launcher. It does have an FTO option for an extra point, which is cool, which is linkable and comes with a flash pulse as well as a missile launcher, which can be neat. And then your Lamed is your 2 AVA, min -3 repeater and flash pulse bot. You have access to Probots, which is your Evo bots, your size 4 robots with baggage. They have nothing really extra compared to the other human ones. You get a TR combi, Evo hacker, and a Div activator repeater for all the same standard point cost. And then, as I said earlier, your Ud bots are your your sort of like standard AVA 4 peripheral surgements with mimetism.
I'm looking at this and I'm like, O12 just stole the Aleph bots.
They're all the same. Yeah, they're all exactly the same.
Except for which one do you want to talk about first out of the 3?
So we'll start with the Rudra.
Yeah.
We'll work backwards from the ones that are they're actual remotes and into the infantry ones, because there's the Rudra, the Dakinis, and the whatchamacallit, the Garuda. The Garuda thieves. So the Ruger is the one that's actually like a remote. The other ones are infantry remotes. It's 6-4 move. It's a fighting remote. CC13, BS12, Phys 10, Whip 12, Arm 4, BTS6, 2 structure, and it's a size 4, so it's on a 55 mil base. AVA 2, repeater, remote presence, courage, dodge +1 inch, immune to shock, and climbing plus. And your options are. For 38 points, a multi-rifle +1 damage and a mine dispenser, or a K1 marksman rifle and mine dispenser, and then a Red Fury +1 damage and a mine dispenser for 1 SWC and 40 points. That K1 marksman rifle is fantastic. For 38
Yeah, that
points.
looks great.
He's so good. The
He's
fact that you can link him with your 2 motorized bounty hunters and just come along with them. And then when it's like, oh, my screen of garbage has died, stand aside, citizens. I'll take over from here. Like,
yep.
And he's a repeater.
And a mine dispenser, which means he can do the mini Maggie trick where he shoots a mine at a corner, then comes around the corner to fight you. Right. Yep. So he has all that same like utility that he can do hanging out with motorized bounty hunters. And you can marksmanship him because he's his own repeater. So it doesn't matter where he is in the board, that Evo bot can throw marksmanship on him if you want, which is really nice.
He can throw mines and send the motorized bounty hunters.
Yeah, you could rem drive him too to make him BS13.
Your Asparas can make him BS13 as well. Yeah.
Not just BS13, but what are the other things he gets?
Whip 14.
Yes.
Some kind of CC, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know
he gets a bunch of bonuses. So
CC15.
it's CC15, which is a very interesting profile for this AVA2 guy. Now he's expensive, right? He's not cheap.
But he's heavy infantry
tough as
price.
hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's tough as hell. Arm 4 BTS6 with 2 structures, no joke. And as we've already seen, this faction is littered with engineers.
Yeah. The fact that he's in heavy infantry, but not actually heavy infantry, is a remote.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's size 4, so that's like awkward. But
he can climb.
Climbing plus.
That's right.
Yeah, makes so a lot awkward things less
fire.
Awkward.
Yeah, diving fire with marksmanship and a mine dispenser. Climbing with a mine dispenser by itself can be insane because you can just start throwing mines wherever you feel like.
And then having K1 combi, or K1 marksman rather, means he's good up to 24. You can have marksmanship on him, and he can be BS13, so he shoots anything on 16s.
Mm-hmm.
And he's linkable because he's a wild card. So your 4 shots BS16 damage 12, no armor.
He's a wild tag hunter because he can get inside that
13,
16,
no
right? He can get inside the 16 where they no longer have their bonuses to hit and just be at bonus plus ignoring cover with that.
And K1 is just armor equals 0, right?
Armor 0. Yeah, it doesn't matter who you
mega AP.
So unless they have bioimmunity, then you're just it's basically monofilament from long range.
Basic. Well, you don't go straight to dead, but yes. And if you're in a Harris with a bunch of bikers just dragging you along, you can get real good real fast.
Yeah. So the fact that you can in one move be in optimal range at deployment for me is what was always the big powerhouse for him.
Sure.
Because like a lot of enemies will set up HMGs and snipers and stuff like that, but generally you can't put him right on the back of your deployment. They're usually like 2 or 3 inches in. That this guy can be set down as a reserve mini because you have a lot of strategos. You're going to have the ability to do that, and then just one move and be able to just start hitting them with a weapon that kills literally everybody. Nobody wants to get shot by that.
I mean, even without the bounty hunters, he's a good candidate to go hang out with the Yadus because he's got 6'4". They got 6'2" move, right? So they can usually keep up with him once he starts shooting, which is a big deal.
I just like the bounty hunters because they make up for him being a bit pricier.
Yeah, but you can't use their orders then because they're locked in that.
It's fine.
You can use him to slingshot them, but then you break them out.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Yeah. Then we get Garud attack box. This is actually your jump troop. You only have 1 jump troop, and he's a disposable robot. 6'4" move jump troop though is a spicy meatball once you show up because you can also parachute on the side and be zipping around. Yep. CC13, BS12, Phys 11, Whip 13, Arm 0, BTS 1 structure, size 2, and AVA 3. They're not that expensive. For remote presence, courage, immune shock, min-3 parachutist, and combat jump, boarding shotgun's only 19 points. And remember, this guy can also, get given all the upgrades. So you walk him into your repeater, or you pitch a repeater over to him, and you start throwing marksmanship on that boarding shotgun and just go ham, running 6'4", spraying shotgun runs everywhere.
The one time I tried out doing coordinated combat jumps. because the Evo hacker made them Fizz 14, and all three of them just land next to one guy with their shotguns. And at the time, shotguns didn't have templates.
Yeah.
So that guy got to shoot one of them. And I don't think he even killed him. I just got lucky.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I have 3 boarding shotguns in the middle of his deployment with mimetism. And it's like, go, kill in every direction until you die, because you were 60 points, and I will pay that every time.
Yeah.
But
So
the Ruger's also repeaters. So like Ruger can fight his way up one side of the board. And like, to get that guy, because he's got the marksman rifle.
Or you could pitch it over the Aceris too, right? Like you got all kinds of choices to get.
But just for like order efficiency, right? It's
sure,
like...
absolutely, yeah. You got it. The FO is 20 points with a combi rifle and flash pulse, and the Spitfire option is 25 points at 1.5 SWC. So a neat drop troop profile, and the remote presence, courage, immune shock, -3, and both parachutist and combat jump. It's pretty legit.
It's the 6-4 movement that does it for me.
Oh yeah,
it's
for a jump troop, that's
often,
crazy.
Like later in the game, you have one guy that's kind of out of position. You're like, well, I need to spend these orders that get up the board to contest the zone or do something or kill that one guy. And you're like, I hate spending all these orders just walking across to get there, and just having that extra movement is so nice.
Well, then let's introduce you to our line troops, because this is the line troops in the remote section for a change of pace. They're also 6-4 move. It's the Dakini TACBot, CC13, BS11, Fizz 10, Whip 13, Arm 0, BTS3, Size 2, Structure 1. Remote presence, courage, immune to shock, and mimetism -3 for 13 points with a combi rifle.
So I have access to these guys in 012, and I'm like, what's the point of these guys? And then I saw them here, and I was like, oh, they're so good.
Yeah, you get an HMG for 21.
Infinite hackers and repeaters and mega rem racers.
Well, the fact that you can link them.
Yes.
That's it. They're your core fire team. Like, these are your Fusiliers, and they kind of pay Fusilier point costs and also are like discounted in SWC. The HMG is only 1 SWC, as is the grenade launcher. The multi-sniper is still 1.5, and you can get a paramedic. So if you put that Diva who counts as a Dakini in, you can bring them back up. The paramedic won't do anything for the Dakinis themselves because they're just structure bots. But you actually have a built-in Dakini whose job it is to bring back the Diva after they go down. My preferred link for these guys, I like Dakinis too. I like 4 of these guys. I like the multi-sniper, HMG, paramedic.
Neither of my lists have Dakinis in them. I love Dakinis though.
Mine does. Mine does. Yeah, it's paramedic, multi-sniper rifle, HMG, combi rifle, and then a MSV2 Spitfire. You could also swap one of these guys. You want to spend a little bit more points to put in a second guy, maybe a hacker or something like that too. But the fact is that these guys have access to all of the support wear because they're remotes, which means your HMG can get marksmanship and a full core fire team of burst 5. You rem racer the BS to 13 with the Aceris, or rem driver, sorry. Ignore cover and +3 to hit. So you're hitting everything basically on 16s, goes to 19s if they don't have mimetism because you ignore cover. So it's like, I'm 5 dicing on 19s. Let's go. And I'm min -3. And I got 2 levels of unconscious. So if I die, I just get brought back by, I don't know, Parvati's Udbot. You can get a lot of work done with that HMG.
Yeah, the 2 levels of unconscious is so nice on remotes. And the fact that your line troops are remotes, the extra speed and extra unconscious is like, good luck killing them outright.
And you're mod stacking back, right? Because you got min -3. So you're -6 to hit back if they don't have a visor. This core fire team is a nightmare for armies that are kind of visorless, like Ariadna. They do not love fighting against this guy because he's just like, I rolled 5 dice and one of them's going to be high. As long as it's not 20. To say that
Aleph is a nightmare for visorless factions.
Yes.
Because we haven't got into Steel Phalanx yet, but
no.
But Jesus.
Aleph in general can be there's a lot of mimetism. And that's all remotes. Anything comments on the remotes? The standard human stuff there, but obviously, like, the big thing in this faction is they lean into structure, right? They have their line troops are remotes, their drop troops are remotes, they have a big fighting remote, they still have access to all the core human remotes, they have lots of synchronized bots. And even though they have access to like a super tag, I probably wouldn't use it, but it's again another structure piece. So this is kind of their game. You're going to take a lot of remotes typically. and that lets you spread your stuff out. And it's not that cheap or SWC intensive, so it's not that hard to get to that full point value. Now you don't have any warbands, right? There's literally no warbands in the whole army. But you've got cheap enough remotes that piece trading job can kind of go to them.
That's what you mean. I was about to say, like, there's the special troops.
No warbands though. There's no warband classification models. There's just skirmishers.
Right.
So there's no like cheap piece trading template guy. And let's talk about the skirmishers. It's the last thing on our list here. And so we already went through the post-human ones, but the first one we'll talk about is Dart. Dart's available in other factions. She is I think she's the wealthy daughter of some like biochemical firm that signs her up for Aristea and becomes like a superstar and then gets drafted into the subsection as a special operative. Now she's got a visor. She's got MSV1, CC17, move 4/4, BS13, Fizz 13, Whip 13. The Fizz comes into play with her grenades and her bow. 1 arm, 3 BTS. You can take one of her. She's size 1. Surprise attack -3, camo. Courage, forward deployment +8, Mim -3, immune shock, stealth, no wounding cap, terrain total, and climbing +. So she is an incredibly versatile word salad of special skills. And she has 2 profiles, a viral attack bow and attack bow. But you take the viral attack bow because it also comes with EM grenades. Both of them have submachine guns on top of that. They're both 34 points. I don't know why you would take the attack bow shock mines when you could get the viral attack bow and EM grenades. I guess mines are a thing, but I'd rather have EM grenades. I think
I raised you that, and I don't know why you'd bring Dart, but she's a cool model.
A surprise attack EM grenade that has forward deployment for 34 points. She's got a lot of stuff going on. She's not a specialist, which is also cool too, because if she dies, she doesn't give away specialist points. And she's MSV1. She's an incredibly good close range hunting piece. And she can mess up a Link team's day with climbing plus and an EM grenade at Fizz 13. Yeah, she fired team on like crazy. No, Parvati's great. She's cheaper than Parvati. And has all the mod stacks, right? So she can climbing plus her way over there. She can throw grenades. She can surprise attack. There's a lot she has going on, and she can counter their mods as well, and remove their ability to use smoke and stuff. She's legit. I really like Dart. I think she's a powerful piece removal piece, like a tactical piece, but you gotta be careful with her, and you gotta know what she's good at going against. I think I would, if I was to rank her versus Andromeda, because their point values kind of directly compete, I would probably take Dart for her ability to recamouflage and disappear, and her smaller profile because she's size 2 instead of size 4. I really like Dart.
Huh. Yeah, if I had to rank her against Andromeda, I'd pick an Arjuna.
I mean, there you go.
Like
also that.
All the
I'm talking about
individual. Yeah, I know. Well, Arjuna's as an individual, right?
Sure. But I'm talking about like a midfielder, right? Like a midfield hunting piece. Those are both midfield hunting pieces, and I like Dart, I think, over Andromeda.
Shock marksman with Karan bots is not a midfielder.
They don't start in the midfield. They got to move up to the midfield. I'm not saying they're not going to be a mid-range brawler, but I
think you just make these terms up.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
The definition is what I need it to be.
That's right. Today. Sure, they're also midfielders, whatever you like. So the Dazius is the next one. This guy is another tons of skills and stuff. AVA 3, move 4/4, CC 13, BS 12, Fizz 13, Whip 14, 1 armor, 1 wound, and size 2. Surprise attack -3, courage, camouflage, hidden deployment, Mim -6, infiltration, stealth, no wounding cap, and train total. They're basically other darts. You get a boarding shotgun, shock mines, multi-sniper nanopulsar, killer hacker boarding shotgun, hacker combi rifle, and forward observer combi rifle with shock mines as well. They're a great midfield piece, but they're expensive in the mid-30s. And you also, there's basically 2 levels of midfield specialists in this army and mine layers. One's the Dazius, which is in the 30-point range, and the next one's the Naga, who's the less mimetismed and no hidden deploy. Yeah, but they're not that far off point value wise. The Dazius, you're probably not taking more than 1 though, because you're looking at almost 40 points.
The no wounding cap down to Doggett is also a pretty big shift.
Definitely, yeah.
Like the
no hidden deploy them, it's pretty big.
I actually think if you're gonna bring 1, you probably pay the 7-point ish.
You might as well invest in the higher one. Yeah,
because he's better mim, he's no wounding cap, he's hidden. You're opening up a bunch of extra little
Yeah. Let's talk about that, because
Extra
the Nagas literally have all the same profiles: boarding shotgun shock mines, combi rifle monofilamental mines, which is kind of a neat profile, multi-sniper rifle, mine layer boarding shotgun shock mines, killer hacker combi rifle, hacker combi rifle, both with shock mines, and an FO with flashballs and shock mines. They dropped their hidden deployment for camo min -3, infiltration, stealth, dogged, terrain total, and surprise attack -3. They're only BS 12, Fizz 12, Whip 14, 1 armor, 0 BTS, and 1 wound. I think you're right. I think the difference in point values isn't high enough to really do the stat drop between the Naga and the Dazius. And if you're going to take a Naga, just take Dart. Like, I would just take Dart. She's just got more gear and more going on for roughly the same point value.
Yeah, I do like Mine Layer. Like a midfielder with mine layers,
sure,
always a good thing. And monofilament mines are a thing that people do not anticipate, because there might be one other profile in the game who has monofilament mines.
30 points though for monofilament mines, and they're not mine layers. You got to actively put them down, which breaks you out of your camo state, right? So you're gonna see,
and you'll ask what profile they have, and they'll know they're monofilament.
And they'll know they're monofilament mines, exactly. Yeah,
for sure. Them knowing though doesn't change
the fact that it's a monofilament. You're not wrong.
Yes, that's okay. The avatar is going to move around this corner. You were just within the area. Guess you're dead now. Sorry.
Yeah, it's scary if there's smoke to get you there, though. I don't know. I feel like the monofilament mines are a cool gimmick, but again, I don't know why I would. There's so much other stuff in this faction.
I wouldn't lean on it. I just think that's the one thing that the cool Naga has, in my opinion, especially compared to like the Dacius, who does the same job effectively, but is like just 7 points better.
7 points better, and hidden deploy and all that extra stuff. So that's it. That's literally all the profiles. This is, again, I said this is not a huge amount of profiles, but again, there's not a lot of overlap either. This is going to be a lot like when we did Hak Islam, and this profile has apart from the remotes, there's very little overlap with the next one, which is Steel Phalanx. And let's get into some list drops. I want to hear yours first, Owen. I'll do mine last. What's your list one?
All right. So list one is Asura Clock. It is Asura Lieutenant Hacking Device +1 order. Because of course. And then we have an Asura Hacking Device plus Upgrade Trinity +2. And then we have an Asura Hacking Device plus Upgrade Trinity +2. Then we've got our Shukra Chain of Command Boy, 2 net rods, 2 Flash Pulsey bots for 7 points, the Pro Bot with his Deactivator Repeater for 8 points, a Mark 5 Proxy with Forward Observer, and the Mark 1 Engineer. And then in Group 2, we have the Evo Hacking Robot, because his job is to spend his 1 order to turn on Firewall for Heavy Infantry. And the name of the game is you walk forward with a Harris of Asuras, which can kill everything. There isn't anyone who wants to stand up to that. And then at the end of your turn, you coordinate Cybermass. And then at the start of your next turn, you rebuild the link, and you do it until all of them are dead. And you just continue to march across the board.
Then somewhere in the background, Parvati would rub their 2 wounds back with the Yud bot.
If by Parvati you mean the Proxy Mark 1, then yes.
Yeah.
No, I don't even think you bother. I think you go all the way down to no wounding cap and then just die and don't get fixed.
Just get grounded dust.
Take your 3 wounds and make them have to dig through the 9 wounds of armor 5, MSV3 linked. Like, go for it. You'll kill me eventually, probably. But if you have hackers, I'll kill them, because I have Trinity +2 on a Whip 15 base. I've got MSV3, so if you've got no camo, I'm just going to shoot you to death. And I'm BS14 with a Harris Marks multi-rifle. I can fight anything.
It feels right.
Feels right. And if you're fighting somebody who's got like some kind of terrifying like ARO turn, you just immediately go into smiley face and then move 6-2 across the board and kill it.
Yep.
That's it. That's the whole shtick. There's no tricks. It's just walk forward.
It's just meat. So how many orders is this?
10 in Group 1 and 1 in Group 2.
Well, that is a way of doing it.
Yep.
What about you? Have you made one yet, Dan? You said you're noodling with them last night.
I made it before, and I'm thinking I want to change some things now that we've talked about some profiles I had looked over, but I'm not sure how I'm going to fit points.
Okay.
Basically, so I'll start with Group 2, which is 2 net rods, Rudra with a K1 marksman, and 2 motorized bounty hunters.
Okay.
And that just solves you have 3 orders to move up the Harris up into either the Rudra's fighting, or like if anything's poking out, I have my Group 1 to deal with that. But then once everything is either shot down or hiding, then you kind of speed across the board. You can mine the Spencer and then then you split and just run a motorized bounty hunter by itself. And you're like, do you want to dodge? Because I got a submachine gun too. And then it's just like horrible things happen and it's great. So I think
horrible things happen and it's great should be the name of this podcast.
I think that would just be super fun to do. And then you have the Rudra as a backup. You suicide your motorized bounty hunters. Who knows what Buddha they get? They should be able to trade like crazy good for those pockets of like guys that are hiding on the other side of the board.
Mm-hmm.
And and then if you're going first or second, you can also just hide them in the back dregs of your deployment zone, and they still get up there no problem.
Just waiting.
Fast.
Yeah, I guess we made a comment about them not like this faction not having like the warband throwaway template guys. 2 double burst chain colt fast bounty hunters is kind of that job.
Yeah.
Like
they're great.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't disagree.
They can't climb up really. I mean, they can if they get off, but it's just kind of like that's just too order intensive probably. But no, they're great. And then my other group, I have a Probot hacker, Evo hacker, and then I have a core of Dakinis. I have 1 with a heavy machine gun, 3 combi rifles, and then a Diva normal hacker. Just kind of like to be that 6th sense hacker. If anything happens, or I don't know, they can fight off the other hackers in heavy infantry. And then I have a Harris of the Asura with just a multi rifle, a Yadu NCO heavy machine gun, and Trisha.
Right.
So my idea is the Yadu can use the extra orders to kind of like move up, fight with the heavy machine gun. The Asura can kind of fit that mid range, and then kind of Trisha's also there as the engineer to kind of like be midfielder around, but she's also got the breaker combi rifle and the EM grenades or EM mines. And so it's kind of like, you have your cool core that is kind of, they'll be fighting, and then Trisha kind of holds back, and if they go down, you kind of hit up. Your main attackers are the second group, the Rudra and the motorized bounty hunters, and then of course the Suras are also great. I don't know if it'll work, but I feel like there's more optimization to be done, but it kind of gets the feel of the faction.
Right. I think that's cool. Well, mine, which I've actually played with before, is 2 combat groups. The first combat group is a 5-man core fire team of Dakinis. So it's a Diva MSV2 Spitfire, a paramedic, a multi-sniper, an HMG, and a just regular combi rifle Dakini. I got a net rod, a proxy Mon Doctor with a Udbot, a proxy Mark 5 FO with a SMG and +1 burst and the EM grenades. And then I got Trisha with a Udbot to put all those robots back together if need be, and then go run objectives and drop EM mines. An Asura, Lieutenant +1 order with upgrade Hacking Device Plus and a multi-rifle, and a Shukra chain of command with a boarding shotgun. And then in group 2, you've got a Lamed, a Probot Evo hacker to up that machine gun to marksmanship, Samek with a missile launcher, so that if you do get some of those cheeky ARO spotlights off, you can then go and throw down some missiles, and a war core. So my one thing is, because you don't have like a dedicated hacking network here, I might drop this Samek to get an extra order by taking the Fort Observer bot, which is the Daleth. That'd be my only swap in here probably, because then you get the tack aware marksmanship, you get a fighting piece that doesn't need any support, and you can use those group 2 orders to go run around and fight. And that's it. That's a more meat and potatoes subsection list, which is kind of like a traditional core fire team build with a fighting lieutenant that runs around and hides and cyber masks and blows people's brains out. But watch out for Brids, because boy howdy, they'll kill her in the active turn.
They'll try.
That was the main thing of me not putting
they sure do.
Asura.
If they picture her, she's dead. The Asura will just die. There's very little they can stop a Brid.
Didn't go that way for me in Carbonite when I did exactly that, and 2 of my Brids got killed by these.
That's fair enough. Yeah. It can still go wrong. But when you're -6 to hack back and be on leadership 9 with the Asura, it's not great.
BTS6 is still pretty tough with multiple wounds.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. It's just you gotta make those rolls.
But that's also why I brought the Evo Hacker, because I'm like, BTS9 is better.
BTS9 is much better. Yeah, that's again, the Evo Hacker has 2 jobs here, and that is potentially one of them if you're not running the HMG on the marksmanship chain. So that's it. What do you guys think about OSSS? We made some fairly different lists. We didn't do double Marut yet, though. Nobody did it.
I did have that as a list as well. I can post it if you'd like.
Go for it. Yeah, you can post it. I think the double Marut, like, let's just say what's in it, because I think
it's literally just a slightly inferior version of the triple Asura. Like, I think the triple Asura actually has like legs to stand on because it can do objectives. It can deal with basically anything. The double Marut, not so much. You're just leaning on the fact that you have Maruts and they have the inherent like tag power. But you're gonna, like, their active turn, you're just gonna die because you don't have the ability to be all smiley faces and you don't have the short range stuff. So it's Marut, Parvati. Parvati has 2 Ud bots, a net rod, two flash pulse bots, 2 repeater deactivator bots, and 2 CSUs, 1 with breaker and 1 with a rifle. 10 orders turns into 12 orders, or 11 plus the 2, so it's like 13-ish. Can't afford the Shukra though, so you don't get counterintelligence, which means even if you go first, you're going to get down to 10 orders.
Yeah.
Like there's problems with it compared to.
And if you're not fighting its camo, you're basically really expensive swallows.
Yeah. Whereas once again, the Asuras have more going on. Just
kind of regardless
off the face of it. Yeah.
Which is why I'm like.
And the Asuras are cheaper, and they still have the extra wound. Now, I mean, the Maruts are tough. Like, they are straight up. They have armor 8. They're BTS 9 as well.
They are BTS 9, yeah, which is
right off the get go. They do more damage with their attacks and things like that. But I like the Asura one more in the fact that they're both kind of like clearly wacky. I've skewed really hard. I think the Asura one, there's something there. You could do that, because I haven't played it since the new additions changes to hacking and how prominent enemy hackers are, and the fact that like it could coordinate trinities into somebody. This is pretty scary. Like, you could just blow up an entire, and like if you played this into Nomads, the first list that I posted with the triple Asura, like, good luck.
For sure.
Go spread your network out, and I'm gonna kill you faster. Like, that's all you're doing if you do that. And then on my turn, I'm going to be in a marker state.
Yeah.
Come dig me out. Oh, you found me. Nanopulser. Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of room for the Asura to shine when we get out of this particular sectorial. So yeah, so I would say that
I think this sectorial, the Rudra, the Arjuna, like, those guys are the real heroes.
Yeah.
you don't need skew, but
and you don't necessarily need power pieces in this too, because they're mid like cost gunfighters, and their core team's actually really good. Like that core team's great, and you could take a Harris, like Dan said, of motorized bounty hunters. Like, you don't need to take that Asura if you don't want to, although you don't have a ton of lieutenant options, right? You're looking at Yadus or Shakti or the
I think you go right to the Shukra. Get the counterintelligence strategist guy. Yeah, they're gonna find you, but whatever. Everyone's lieutenant dies. Like,
and your net rods are veterans, and so are all your Yadus. So, oh well.
Yeah. Motorized bounty hunters don't care.
Yeah. I just realized I brought 2 core and 2 Harrises, but I guess you put the Harris on the Ruja and the motorized bounty hunters. You run up a suicide, and then you create another Harris on the other side of the board.
The moment those bikes use their irregulars, you break it anyway. So who cares?
Yeah, so you explode it and then reform the other one on the next order when you want to actually move them forward and stuff like that.
I want to do that with more lists now, of just have multiple Harris options and just have one active at a time.
Yep.
I mean, it's a really popular way of getting warbands up the table quickly, right? And then turn after, you break them into their irregulars and their whatchamacallits, their
I've never thought about that before. Yeah.
That was actually my list in the previous podcast about the QK, the Kapukauki thing. I had a second group of like a Harris that wasn't a Harris until the first one died.
That's true.
'Cause I wanted
Yeah, I
two
do remember that.
SPs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's an interesting way of like starting to look at like your deployment options and how you don't necessarily have to have these things starting on the table. You can have these like backup option fire teams that you like click over to later, and that's a completely viable build option.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Well, there it is. So that was Subsection, an interesting and different remote-leaning army with lots of synergy between the medium and low-cost pieces, a few kind of like standout specialists and named characters, and of course some powerhouse units such as the Asura and the Proxy that are kind of no-brainers. But you can kind of build the list either around them or around your fire teams, and get some fairly subtle variation. I think your core ingredients in this army are always going to be kind of the same. You're going to have some hackers, you're going to have some supportware, you're going to have some remotes, and then you kind of dash in the specialists to rearrange how those pieces fit together overall in your list. It does, in my opinion, as far as armies go, it lacks a little bit of replayability because you do tend to telegraph what you're doing very often. And the more you play, I think, against someone's subsection army, you're like, oh, today this is the lieutenant. I see what's happening here. And you don't get away with those tricks very often. And I have noticed that when playing against subsection, the armies tend to kind of pull the same combos quite often because you don't have a huge army selection and you're kind of leaning on those remotes and stuff. So a fun army to play, great army to start with, actually. I think if this was your first sectorial, your first Infinity army, it's actually really digestible. So I would highly recommend the action pack for this army, because it is actually quite a competent action pack. I made an army list out of it because I'm thinking about doing an action pack sort of like gamey thing. It doesn't come to a full 300 points, but you get a decent army. You get 10 models, Shukra Chain of Command, Shakti Lieutenant. You get some Dakinis. You get a Rudra with 3 Dakinis and a Diva if you want a not pure core fire team. You get a Core Yadu, a Naga, and you get the Apsara Rem Driver. If you want with the SMG, because you can have Sarah in there as well. So you get some cool models and almost 300 points, 260 points. Throw a character in there, buy some remotes, and you're ready to rock and roll. And it's nice and digestible. So that's it. So we'll be back next week with Steel Phalanx. And once again, this is going to be a whole brave new world of new profiles. You lose access to a few of those cool remotes. There's no Rudras for you. But you get access to some things that don't even actually exist in vanilla Aleph. There's a few Steel Phalanx characters that don't even walk the line in vanilla, like Pandora, and a couple others that are pretty cool.
Is there anything in this sectorial that doesn't exist in vanilla?
Just a few profiles.
Yeah, not like the units themselves, but like that lieutenant option for the Shukra is not there. I can't think of anything that doesn't exist overall. But there's a few, and maybe a couple of mercenaries. I don't know if Sforza is in full regular vanilla. If he probably is, though, he tends to be everywhere. He tends to just be all over the place. But yeah, no, it's more like ways of taking them that's missing, not the actual like unit profiles. But Steel Phalanx has a few that are unique to them, like just purely unique to Steel Phalanx.
Cool.
And we'll get on that next week. All right, that's it,
in
guys.
the Patreon chat, I have left a less stupid version of my list.
Fabulous. I like how you qualified it with less stupid.
Still stupid though.
Still
called not the
stupid.
dumbest. Not the dumbest.
Slightly
That's
less.
what it's called.
It's called Not the Dumbest. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm into it. All right, well, that's it for us. We'll see you guys next week, and we'll do some Steel Phalanx. Night, guys.
Bye.